Ladies and gentlemen, winter this year took us by surprise. Of course, every year we say the same thing. We say winter came all of a sudden. But this year, I think we felt that it really did came all of a sudden. Last week, we were all staying at home, wearing all our clothes, trying to get warm and complaining on Facebook about how this is very cold weather and we haven't seen that. So, imagine this. You go into your closet because now it's winter and you have to find something to wear. You try to search for something that is acceptable. Now everything from last year is all worn out. So you go to the mall and you spend hours and hours just looking here and there for something to buy. You finally find it and you're quite happy. You wear it for the first time and then your friend comes along and says, this is a weird color you have chosen. The first thing you feel, you've been offended. You say, well, you know what? I spent lots of hours trying to find this pullover or this shirt. And you also know what? My parents gave me a lot of compliments about this color and about this shirt. So you actually feel that you have been attacked. And the first thing, you become emotional and you go on the defensive. This actually is not something that is, you don't feel good and the other person also doesn't feel good, because if you think, your friend in that situation is going to probably think, well, she thinks that it's a nice color. Okay, she can suit herself. I was trying to be honest. No one will tell her that. I'm just trying to be friendly and give her some advice. So in the end, it turns out to be not a very nice situation for both parties. So I will try to maybe give you a bit of tips and things about what to do when you are faced with criticism. In general, there are 4 ways to diffuse criticism. The first one is withdrawal. You take the criticism, you take it in silence, you do not respond, and you just stay calm. In that situation, there is no escalation, there is no fight, there is no attack and counterattack. But it actually affects your mental health because you feel that it has lowered your self-esteem and self-confidence because you did not hold your ground. So this is one way you probably do, but it's not recommended. The second one is rationalization. And in rationalization, you just accept the criticism, and when the person actually finishes the criticism, you begin to accept the merit. It's something worthy. However, you try to explain why you did this. And unfortunately, by the time you have finished, if the person in front of you was actually a bit aggressive or he is mad at something, he will find holes and try to say, well, you know, but this and but that, and it will probably not end on something good. The third thing, which is I find to be a bit maybe negative, is counterattacking. You're saying you have this and this fault. Well, you discredit this, you don't talk about it, but you try to talk to the person about his faults. You divert the negative attention from yourself, and you begin to talk about the other person's faults or mistakes. And this is it actually makes things escalate. It ends negatively on both parties. However, the best way to diffuse verbal criticism is actually to accept it and listen and not respond aggressively. So what do you do in that situation? You listen, because sometimes when people just give you criticism, it means that there are feelings hidden inside, negative feelings that have nothing to do with that situation you are being criticized on. So you listen and you begin to ask questions. Try to find out what you did wrong, why the person thinks that. And when you listen, the good thing to do is also, when you hear the person saying what they are saying, to paraphrase it. Because when you paraphrase, when you take what the person has said to you and you put it in your words and you say it back, it actually makes the other person feel that you have been listening to them. So it is something quite healthy and quite the thing to do. And then the other thing is also to acknowledge. If the criticism has merit, you need to acknowledge the merit and say, okay, I think I've been wrong or I have done this wrong. But acknowledging criticism does not mean that you actually accept or agree. It means that you are accepting the good parts or the positive parts, and and you're listening quite well. And you also have to agree with the truth. And because when you agree with whatever the person is saying, you take the wind off their sails. You make them a bit calmer and you try to listen. So Some tips on what to do is to actually acknowledge the emotions, not say I understand, because how do you understand? You're not me, you're not put in my situation. You just try to acknowledge the emotions. The second thing is to minimize the use of non-productive phrases such as I know or I will try. Third thing is try to absorb the other person's anger, which is you do that by remaining calm, by not taking things personally, not getting angry, not arguing, because when you argue, you actually the other person will think that you're not making a good point, and he was probably right. So to sum it all up, I believe that the fourth thing is responding non-defensively. That's the good thing. Again, this is as all other soft skills. It requires some practice. And when you practice and practice, you will get to do it good. Thank you.